What's your favorite M car and why?
Current M?
Sure. Current and then all time.
The current M is the M8. I mean, that car, like our M schools, that car comes off the corner with all that horsepower and all-wheel drive. It is just launching off the corner like you've never had a car do before. And the 0 to 60 times on that car is incredible. And what a better place than drive that car than near their M schools.
So how did you first get involved or interested in racing? I mean, when did you know you wanted to be a race car driver?
Well, back in high school, of course, we all watched Formula One, and then living up in the mountains of North Carolina, we had an annual hill climb at Chimney Rock, which is now a state park in North Carolina. It was the road that took the tours from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. Very big attended event back then, and so in high school, all the high schoolers would load up and go down to the hill climb twice a year and watch the sports cars race to the top. I think that's what first bit me, and knew that pretty quickly that's something I wanted to do.
Right. What music gets you hyped up before a race?
Music gets me hyped up before a race. It has to be Tom Petty, Running Down a Dream.
I hear it. I hear it. What can people expect to learn at an M school? Like, what's the kind of things that we teach? What can you expect from an M school?
Well, it's great to come to an M school that's going to lay down the groundwork for that driver to leave here and go participate in the car club chapter event at a racetrack, or maybe come back for our advanced M schools that's always at a racetrack. But we're going to teach the proper line through the corner, when to brake, when to go to power, how to harness all that horsepower we're going to give them.
Right.
And that's what's difficult, is the horsepower that we're building these days. It's so easy to go to power too early, and that's when bad things happen. So again, we teach them the entrance to the corner, how to set the speed of the corner in the beginning with the brakes, take advantage of the carbon ceramic brakes that we have, and then when to go back to power. Now, that's just one of the aspects of M school. Of course, everybody comes here to learn the drift. Of course, we'll put them on the exact same skid pad that our colleague, Mr. Johann Swartz, at the World Guinness record for the longest continuous drift. So we'll be on that skid pad teaching car control, and hopefully that student's going to do some power sliding for us.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to get better on the skid pad.
Right.
And that really is the core of the Performance Center and what we teach here. I mean, car control is so important, and skid pad is really important for that. What do you think is the most fun part about working at the Performance Center? Besides getting to spend every day with me.
Other than that, of course, that was at the top of my list.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But clearly, besides that.
I think my answer is probably the same answer for all instructors, in that I love driving fast cars, I love driving BMWs, but what I really enjoy doing here at Performance Center is teaching. I love watching that student when they first arrive and watching the natural progression, especially if they're here for like a 2-day school, and thinking back at the end of the second day of how that student drove the very first course that they drove in. And that, I think for all of us instructors, that's really a big personal reward for us, is watching the natural progression of that student from the time they arrive until the moment they leave.
It is very satisfying,
Yep.
right? To see somebody really get it and have that light bulb moment. What is your most memorable moment, the best memory you have since you've been working here at the Performance Center, for either a student or at the school or something? What's the best memory you remember?
Yeah, that's an easy answer. So it was about 15 years ago, Derek, we had the E46 M3 that they had just introduced with the SMG transmission. And so I'm not sure if just by luck I got this phone call routed to my desk. And it was an individual, a real interesting guy from Nevada. And his question was, I'm considering buying the E46 M3 with the SMG transmission. Will I be happy driving this car in the automatic mode at the racetrack? Because the guy did a lot of tracking with the BMW Car Club chapters. And so my first question, well, why would you want to do that? We've got this new manual transmission without a clutch pedal. Why would you want to shift it? Why would you not want to shift the car manually? And then he explained to me that a number of years ago he'd lost his right arm. And so as we all know, on our M cars, one paddle controls the upshift, and one paddle controls the downshift on the shifting of the transmission. So I told him, I said, I'll tell you what, let me call you back. And so I took that idea to someone else here at the Performance Center, and he said, oh, this is simple. We've already fixed the same problem for the drummer of Def Leppard with only one arm. And what we did, we found a steering wheel from the standard 3 Series. And of course, we remember that both paddle controls both the upshift and downshift. And so we retrofitted that steering wheel to Lynn's SMG E46 M3. So now what could he do? Not only could he drive the car in automatic mode at the track, but now he could also shift it with one hand. And so I think that really is what this company is all about. It's, at the end of the day, it's still about our drivers. And here was just one driver, and we made it work for him. And so it's really something I'm very passionate about. Again, I think that really describes what BMW is all about. And that's when I was really proud to say I am part of BMW.
What's the most important skill for a new driver to learn?
Braking.
Braking.
Right.
Why is that? Why is braking so important?
Plain and simple, because our options are limited. And like I said a minute ago, the driver goes in just too fast, and they say, "Hey, y'all, watch this," and it just becomes too late. They become the passenger hanging on the steering wheel at that point. And so it's usually because the speed is involved, and they just simply didn't slow down enough before the corner. And then their options are limited.
Hey, Donnie, what is your favorite track and favorite track in the world?
Well, it's got to be the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife course. Of course, Derek, you and I have both been over there many times. Now, this would have been my 12th consecutive year going to the Nordschleife of hosted groups, instructing over there at that track. It certainly makes reason why all the manufacturers use the Nordschleife as their test bed. And with the elevation change that we have, which is about 1,000 feet, with all the different corners that's on the Nordschleife, it just stands to reason why the BMWs, that is where they were born and bred.
Has anybody ever told you that you look like Bill Belichick?
Who the hell is that?
Who's Bill Belichick? He's the head coach of the New England Patriots. Like 7-time Super Bowl champion, the best.
I quit watching football in 2016.
Okay. All right, let me ask you this.
But they have told me that I look like Audie Murphy.
Okay.
You don't know who that is, okay?
I do know who Audie Murphy is. I think more people nowadays know who Bill Belichick is than Audie Murphy. But anyway, how do you sharpen your skills? How do you improve? What do you do to stay?
That's easy. The management here at Performance Center is very, very liberal about letting us instructors go out and kind of hone our skills. We like to call it continuing education. But to be able to go on the skid pad and, let's face it, the speeds on our skid pads not but like 35 or 40 miles an hour, but the same things we're feeling at the slower speeds are the same things we're feeling at the faster speeds on the racetrack.
What is the coolest tactic you ever learned working with the Secret Service guys?
Well, it's got to be the bit maneuvers, where you we're protecting, we're in motorcade, we're protecting the important person behind us, and the bad guys are up in front, and to be able to spin the other car out. That was one of the things that we did when we did the training. Very limited training I have with them, but the training that we did up.
Yeah.
Homeland Security, that's one of the coolest things that we did with the cars.
Donnie, I know you and I have both hosted groups to the Nürburgring. We like to take groups to Germany, show them all the best that Germany has to offer, including the world's finest piece of pavement, the Nürburgring. Right. What is your favorite car to drive on the ring?
Anything with a roundel.
I hear you, man. Do you like the manual transmission, the old 3-pedal, or do you like the automatics, the DCTs nowadays?
Well, a lot to be said for the manual transmission. It's fun and all that, but man, if you're looking for performance, if you're looking for speed, you gotta go with the double clutch transmission, the automatic transmissions we have in the M cars today. I mean, it just makes more sense. I'm a big fan of left foot braking, and of course, if I don't have the clutch pedal, that affords me the opportunity to left foot brake. That's something that we learned in my Formula car racing over the years.
What's the most daring thing you've ever done not in a car, outside of a race car, outside of the car world?
That's very easy. When I jumped out of an airplane.
Jumped out of an airplane?
With a parachute.
A perfectly good airplane, right?
Right.
I hear you, man. Was that fun? Was that exciting?
Oh, man, that's one of the most exciting things I've ever done. And I kind of relate to that when we teach our skid pad training, because I was out of my element then, and a lot of our students, when we put them on the skid pad, they're under a little bit of pressure, they're out of their element, and so it really helped me as an instructor think about what the students thinking about, or maybe what they're not thinking about. we're under a little bit of pressure, and our mind kind of locks up. So it was good for me to experience that as a student would here at the Performance Center.
What's the most common mistake that people make behind the wheel of a powerful and fast car?
I think it's very simple. They don't slow down enough. They want to carry too much speed in the corner, which is the classic definition for understeer. Too much speed, too much steering angle, and then at that point they become a passenger hanging on the steering wheel. So I think the biggest mistake that the inexperienced driver makes, and a lot of us make, is just not simply slowing down enough before they reach the corner.
What's the most intense moment you've ever had in a car?
Probably when you were driving.
Hang on, Donnie.